review of Raw for Monday night on USA Now on the John and Wayne Take the Mic.
It's Review of Raw. I'm John Pollock. He is Wei Ting. This is the show where we review a 3-hour show from Monday night.
Yes,
what a concept.
Well, hopefully it's not going to be more than these 3 hours.
Oh, this
per
is
week.
it. This is it. Monday night, Raw took place from Green Bay, Wisconsin, the home of the Packers.
Yeah.
And this
Home of Ken Anderson.
home of Ken Anderson.
Yeah.
At one time, the home of, well, at least the playing days of Steve Mongo McMichael when he
Wow.
played for the Packers.
Yes.
Well, this was Memorial Day in the U.S., so we kicked things off with a 10-bell salute with the entire roster out on the stage, and they went into this tribute video with talent reciting a 1982 speech from President Ronald Reagan. I assume this was probably shot during the day because Nikki Bella was a part of this, and I would think she was probably at the show on Monday backstage.
Interesting.
So anyway, lots of different talent. Stephanie, Shane, Cena, lots of talent. Titus O'Neil.
Happy Memorial Day for all of our U.S. listeners, of course.
Yes. I don't know if you say Happy Memorial Day,
what do
but
you say?
it's a day of observance.
So,
Remembering those.
Observe Memorial Day. Happy observing Memorial Day. Yeah, whatever.
Well, Shane McMahon kicked things off, coming out to the ring, and was immediately followed by Stephanie. And they're both in the ring and say that it's time to shake things up. And they announced that SmackDown will be going live every Tuesday beginning July the 19th. And Shane says that means better shows.
I hope so.
We're going to get out of this rut
Yeah.
that SmackDown is in,
Yeah.
according to this clarification by Shane. Mm-hmm. How often do you watch SmackDown, Way, each month?
When Morrow started doing the show, I started watching them pretty regularly, just to hear him call WWE matches. Admittedly, it's kind of I've kind of fallen back into the routine of not really watching.
That's kind of the routine that SmackDown generally, I find it to be a pretty easy show to watch. Last week in particular, there were 2 very good title matches on it, but you get great wrestling every week.
I'm sure you do.
Even if you're just watching WWE.
The problem is it seems to be a show that's not really relevant to current. I mean, it is relevant to current storylines, but it kind of just redoes what's already on Raw, so I don't really.
There's nothing on SmackDown last week you needed to see for tonight's Raw. Nothing. Not a thing.
No.
So they mentioned the SmackDown going live, and Stephanie just kept obnoxiously yelling out, Monday Night Raw. And Stephanie mentions that John Cena will return tonight, and this leads to the New Day coming out. And they state that their excitement has turned to paranoia, and they point to different media reports announcing that in addition to SmackDown going live, this will mean a brand extension. Mm-hmm. One of the least sexy terms the WWE has ever come up with.
Brand extension.
Back
Sounds
when they
pretty
first
sexy.
introduced this, could you imagine, Way, if your favorite comic book, they were going to separate the characters into 2 different universes, and they announced that we are going to take our comic and it is going to be a brand diversification.
That doesn't sound any better.
No, I know it doesn't. That's how a brand extension. How unpassionate does that sound if you are the fan base? Oh my God, the brand extension.
Well, they had 2 options. You can call it the brand extension, or you can call it what we all call it, which is the brand split. And I suppose a split sounds more, detrimental.
You of all people, you hate that term. Brand.
I love it.
That
What are you
alone.
talking about? Our look at our beautiful law branding.
Just the fact that we
raw branding.
so willingly just for the brand. What brand am I loyal to?
What do you call them? Show extension? Roster extension, I guess, would work too.
Cash grab. Let's call it that. That sells a T-shirt. Mm-hmm. So she mentions Cena coming out, New Day's out, and they talk about the brand split. And Shane confirms, going one step further on the corporate jargon, says that there will be, quote, unique superstars for each roster. And they joke about Kofi being here for a good decade after he states that he is part of the new era. And the crowd boos here at the suggestion that the New Day could be broken up during this brand split.
Yeah, I definitely feel like that was one of the mistakes of the original brand extension, was them breaking up all the tag teams. They basically broke up every tag team in that first brand extension. They broke up the Hardys, Edge and Christian.
They kept the Hardys together at first, and then it was by the summer they split them up.
Okay.
But you're right, the Dudleys.
And often, I would say, I guess in the case of Edge and Christian, it didn't work, but I hope that they're a lot more careful. And I certainly hope that they don't break up the New Day.
Well, to me, there was a very simple promo to be said here, is that you guys are the tag champions, so their storyline should be that you guys have to fight for your life to stay champions, and you won't be split up.
Does that mean, though, every team who doesn't win is going to be split up?
Well, you know what, Way? That was one of many questions, and this segment basically said, well, anything's possible. That's all they said, meaning I don't think that they wanted to share any details here, not anything.
They probably don't know.
Well, they do some comedy here. Xavier says Francesca, too, comes from a broken home and needs to stay with her fathers. And Shane and Stephanie say that they have not decided who's going to run Raw and SmackDown yet. But Shane says words that I am isolating and I'm going to keep on my desktop as an MP3. The words, everything will be extremely well thought out. And we will replay that clip at the end of the year, Way, and we will assess its validity. And then they suggest having a dance challenge, which Shane is more than willing to participate in, while Stephanie scoffs at this notion. What did you think of
the dancing?
Can Shane dance or not?
Sure. Yeah, he dances great. I mean, they needed a close to the segment, and this was, let's dance. Let's dance to end this show, John.
I really don't get the appeal of Shane McMahon, at least as a babyface.
I don't get the appeal of any of these guys dancing. Unless whatever.
Stephanie,
it's like we're at a wedding or something.
Stephanie relents and goes to dance, but they are interrupted by the vaudevillains. And that was the end of this segment. And this was the only discussion of the brand split during the show at all. The only mention of it. And that was probably the biggest interest for this show tonight, was what they would state in regards to this. And granted, we have a long way to go, so you can't really shoot a bunch of angles for that brand split when this thing is a month and a half away.
Yeah.
So that ended things. And we went into a tag match with Kofi Kingston and Big E. And Wait, I'm certain that Game 7 of the Golden State-Oklahoma City game played a big factor in this, but outside of the big angle we'll talk about, this felt like a show that was very much, they knew they were getting killed. Because this first hour in particular, I was surprised by, because that was the unopposed hour, and this felt like a hour where there was nothing hooking you in this first hour.
To me, it just felt like a pretty standard episode of Raw.
Well, that's a sad state of things, because this was a very, I thought, bare-bones show minus the angle. Kofi Kingston and Big E took on the Vaudevillains. JBL explained last week that a pack of unicorns are referred to as a glory, and then went on to state that they are currently stomping a glory hole into Aiden English.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
Which, I mean, between that description and that unicorn horn that they wear, quite the visual.
Some new merch.
Yeah.
Maybe.
The glory hole.
Yeah.
I wonder if that...
It's a new cereal. Glory holes.
Yeah. You never know what you're going to get when you reach in.
Yeah. I like that.
There's a prize at the end of the bottom of each
they
box.
only sell them at shady truck stops.
They got the advantage on Kofi, and more cringeworthiness here. JBL stated that Gotch is a legendary name in sports entertainment, talking about the original sports entertainers, Frank and Carl. Yeah. Kingston then got clotheslined to the floor by Gotch. They went through a commercial. Anderson and Gallows then showed up and attacked Xavier on the floor. Kingston tried to help. The match is thrown out. The Vaudevillains attack Big E in the ring. They have a brief stare down with Gallows and Anderson, but then the Vaudevillains leave Big E for Gallows and Anderson, and they proceed to hit Big E with the Magic Killer. So Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, had big involvement throughout this episode of Raw, and this feels like a three-way program at least, meaning that the Vaudevillains, despite being blown out at the last pay-per-view, are going to still be in this title picture.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, that seems to be.
I don't know if this is stronger as a three-man. I think, to be honest,
I don't think anyone takes the Vaudevillains that seriously. I don't even know if it will be a three-way. It seems like the program is the New Day versus Gallows and Anderson.
I think most would prefer that.
I like the way they. Well, actually, why don't you get to the Gallows and Anderson segment?
Well, they're backstage with Renee. They state Styles is going his way. They're going theirs. They put the tag division on notice because they are not going anywhere. They have just got started.
Yeah, and the way they positioned this really did an effective job of making you think that they had moved on from the AJ program, moved on from the club, and were moving on to something else.
Each and every week, it's your chance to win a t-shirt from ProWrestlingTees.com. Simply answer the trivia question and tweet @LawRadio for your chance to win each and every Thursday. Apollo Crews was busy doing push-ups backstage to get ready for his, segment. That's what he was warming up for. Mm-hmm. The Big Show returned and says he doesn't care what era it is. He's been knocking guys out since the Jurassic era. Yeah. Which I guess would be WCW circa 95, 96 when he was world champion.
When he was fighting up the Shark.
And Lex Luger.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to cause problems, and Apollo says, good, because I'm glad I don't have to hurt you. And Big Show just smiles and says he likes Apollo. He says Sheamus is in panic mode, and the new era is a threat to Sheamus, who is a bully. And he thinks that Apollo will back down, and he asks Crews, are you going to back down or not? And Big Show walked off.
Yes. They had Crews here representing the new era. Big Show steps up to him, and he says, oh, you got a problem with the new era too? And I don't mind them calling like kind of these new guys the new era. I hate it when they refer to themselves as the new era. You know, like back in when there was the Attitude Era, Stone Cold or The Rock weren't telling
they
guys,
didn't fist bump each other and say Attitude.
I'm the Attitude Era. No, like it's a little corny, and it really just reminds me of the whole New Blood Russo thing, which I don't think you want to be reminded of. But I think it more so, I don't like it because it makes all the older established guys come across as villains, which is what that New Blood angle did for WCW. But it's the fans still want to cheer your older established guys, and I guess I just don't like blanketing everybody into sort of a faction, this new era faction.
Well, the Golden Truth come out, and Truth is rapping their team name, and they were there on commentary for the Usos against Fandango and Tyler Breeze. Breeze-ango.
Breeze-ango. I mean, I personally prefer Febreze.
That is the popular term online.
Way better. Them. I feel like like a babyface should like mock them by calling them Febreze. It'd be perfect.
There was an insert promo where Tyler called them the Usos, and the commentary featured R-Truth yelling at Fandango, "Hay is for horses, not for people." Breeze ran into a super kick from Jimmy. Jay used a crucifix and pinned Fandango in a minute 44, and then they fought with the Golden Truth, featuring a power slam delivered by Goldust to Tyler Breeze.
They did some type of distraction finish, but did you even see the distraction here? Was there any distraction?
Not really.
No. So, I mean, they tried to get the finish to put the heat on the Golden Truth to build up that match, but I didn't really see it at all. And I was a little disappointed because Breezango cut a little promo, and I feel like there's a lot of potential with this team. They're essentially playing two male models. Like they're playing Derek Zoolander and Hansel. And
great.
I think they're hilarious. And, I'm glad they're together.
Do you really think they're hilarious?
I do. I think they have the potential to be. Okay. And I think that they're both awesome wrestlers, and any type of gimmick that could have potential will allow them to wrestle more, and that's all I really care about. But here, I mean, they just kind of lose again, and they got beat up by the baby faces afterwards. So, I don't know how much they're investing into these two.
Well, I'm sure these two teams are going to have about 100,000 matches from now until the draft. Roman Reigns comes out at the end of the first hour and receives a lot of boos, which JBL notes that he's just such a polarizing figure. And Roman says that Rollins calls himself the man, but he is running his mouth and running away from the guy. And he reminds us,
I'm so sick of that line. Right.
That or new era, which is worse?
Oh, it's a little tough to choose right now. But I don't think Reigns needs to remind everybody. Like, what are we, like 2 months in now with that line? He still has to say it every promo.
What a slogan, though, for Money in the Bank. The guy versus the man.
The guy versus the man. Well, is Rollins the man, though?
That's what he said he calls himself. The man. Yeah. Seth comes out in his gear, teases a confrontation, but would walk back to the entranceway, got the mic, kept stalling, then dropped the mic. He kept teasing he would run in and just wouldn't. And this incited the crowd to boo Rollins. Then they think he's left for good, so they go back to booing Reigns. And we think the segment is done when Rollins sprints down when Reigns has his back turned. But again, Reigns turns around and Rollins freezes. And then he goes to the back. Somehow Roman Reigns' feet were cemented onto the mat, where with Rollins in a few feet in front of him, just couldn't muster up the desire to go to the floor and chase after this man.
You're saying Reigns should have just chased after him? Yeah.
Well, why wouldn't you? You want to fight this guy?
Yeah.
What, was he handcuffed?
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean,
I didn't hate this.
I didn't hate it either. If the guy's intent,
I don't want to see these guys get physical yet. I
Sure.
think this is a program that I think everyone can agree is likely to go past Money in the Bank. You need to do some WCW 96 booking and milk every interaction for all it's worth.
Yeah, if it was their job to get people to boo Seth Rollins, who I think a lot of people still want to cheer, I mean, I feel like this succeeded. However, I felt like at times, though, they also may have succeeded in getting people to change the channel, because that's kind of how I felt watching this segment.
Well, I think this whole show probably was battling that with anyone. I mean, on top of the game, the NBA game, you had the Stanley Cup Finals as well. I mean, this was not priority programming on Monday night. Through all their best efforts with John Cena. Catch all of our podcasts daily up at FightNetwork.com. You can also subscribe to Live Audio Wrestling on iTunes and listen through the free Stitcher app. So we go to a commercial break, and this is where they had been doing these teases on Twitter all weekend long about something that was going to hatch on Monday night.
Hashtag hatch.
Hashtag hatch. I thought personally this was going to be Survivor 1 winner Richard Hatch coming out with Naked Midian. I thought that was going to be the hatch, but it wasn't. It was a really well-produced 2K ad for WWE 2K17. They go to this shack, I guess, and
So a hatch.
A hatch.
Yeah.
And is that a frequently used term? When have you ever referred?
I thought it was going to refer to somebody coming out of an egg, and I guess
that too. Could have been
Goldberg coming out of an egg.
Could have been the
golden egg.
The gobbledy Goldberg.
Yeah.
But this was well done. You had the police showing up in this police car, and then their footsteps were done to Goldberg's theme.
Yeah.
As they walked towards the hatch.
So this is where Goldberg has been for how many? 12 years?
Yeah, he's been in this house the whole time, waiting.
Was it a house?
A hatch.
It looked like some cave with a little door.
Well, they open it up, and there is Goldberg, who is taken away by police, and he is the special character if you pre-order this year's video game. So this is a deal with 2K, but certainly this is going to lead to the possibilities of Goldberg doing something. He's stated he's been open to doing another match, and I go back to this year's WrestleMania way, and I think when they were in such a bind for something with Taker that, listen, the Shane feud, it did connect with people ahead of time. But I think Goldberg, if the idea is by the end of this, he is going to do a comeback.
Prior to this year, I would have said Taker Goldberg, come on. I think that won't be a pretty match.
You really underestimate.
I know, but now they've done a Shane match, and I guess all kind of
the
expectations.
two famous streaks meeting at WrestleMania.
The two streaks that have been long gone.
Goldberg showed when they did that DVD on him.
Yeah.
That thing sold tremendously well. Goldberg is a really, really well-revered character.
Yes, he is. However, when you're
more nostalgia than Shane has.
But if you're Taker, you're expected now, and he did this with Shane. He went 30 minutes with the guy, and we know Goldberg's strength is not long matches.
Who's arguing for a 30-minute match?
The expectation.
I'm not even saying Taker. That's done. That's done. I'm saying if you are going to bring in Goldberg, it would be with a different opponent at this time. I'm just saying This will probably happen. I think there's a very good likelihood it happens now.
He looks to be in great shape. At the very least, a Hall of Fame induction, I'm sure, is being
Probably. Very, very likely. But anyway, so this is the 2K deal and the reveal of Goldberg. And I thought a good spot as well.
Yeah, are you going to buy the video game?
No, I'm not, but it's out there.
Okay.
Rusev and Ryder. There was an insert promo with Zack noting that last Memorial Day he challenged John Cena, and he lost. So it's now a tradition. Another streak that's beginning. But says over the past year he stayed hungry and then he shocked the world at WrestleMania. And he does not believe he is the underdog tonight. He would be incorrect. There were USA chants as Rusev attacked Ryder. Ryder did get in some offense, including the broski boot, and then Rusev tossed him in the air. He landed on the mat and then applied the accolade, bending him backward for the win at 2:33.
Yeah, he does the accolade now, just like he did to Kalisto at the pay-per-view. He pulls the guy back into basically almost something that looks like a bit like a rear naked choke, and it looks awesome. It looks way scarier. Looks awful for his opponent's knees. He probably won't be able to do it to like a John Cena, but we'll see. Maybe he will.
It's amazing what you can do with someone when you are committed to reheating someone up. Just something as different as a change on their finish, and guys just tap into it, and all of a sudden you have an over finish, and this was pretty damn quick. They've done it with Kalisto and Ryder, and I would say this finish gets a reaction each time now because it's sold as a big move, big submission. So Rusev then cuts a promo, and this was the highlight of the show for me. He says he is like all American. He basically just cuts a promo on all Americans who feel they are entitled after they have lost everything. He says he is a true American hero, and then, quote, better than all of you cheese gobbling cheese, whatever you call yourselves, Americans these days. Cheese goblin cheese, whatever you call yourselves. So then he's interrupted by Titus O'Neil, who is disgusted that Rusev, on all days, would choose to cut this cheese-gobbling promo on Memorial Day, and he chases Rusev out of the ring.
This might have been Titus's first actual promo on Raw since his return, to my recollection at least.
Yes. This you would have seen on SmackDown last week, the confrontation.
Oh, is that right?
The clash of the Titus.
He calls him a Bulgarian blowhard.
Ooh, wow.
I mean, I don't know.
What a program we've got.
Yeah, I honestly have never been that impressed with Titus personally. I know the guy has a great personality. I think I've seen him speak off camera, and he's a great personality. But on camera in pro wrestling, I've never been all that impressed.
You know what his new finish is going to be? You give Rusev a change to his finish. You want to get something over with Titus play to reality.
Yeah,
an arm drag.
What?
That's what got him suspended.
Oh, yeah.
You can check out the Law's YouTube channel at youtube.com/liveaudiowrestling. Subscribe for all of your free videos, including Ask Away, interviews, and much more. The Shining Stars. Brought to you by another green screen and invited us to Puerto Rico. I guess they're awaiting their next invite to Raw.
Yeah, I mean, it's been 2 weeks.
It's like going on a first date and they don't call back.
Yeah, it's been 2 weeks.
Now they're coming across desperate.
Mm-hmm. It's been 2 weeks since they've debuted, and I mean, they're back to doing what they were doing before they debuted, which is...
they're going to be in there's two tag divisions now. There's the tag title division, and then there's the Comedy Outcast tag division. They're going to be part of that Comedy Outcast division, which is growing by the week.
Yeah,
the Usos were part of it this week.
The Golden Truth needs new opponents for sure. But I think it's another case of them bringing back guys.
What if these two get broken up at the draft?
Then who gives a shit?
Oh, boy.
I mean, I think they brought them back too soon without really fleshing out whatever characters that these two are supposed to be.
They did a really nice video feature on the Charlotte Ric Flair segment from last week with talent weighing in, including Dean Ambrose, who says that Charlotte wanted to humiliate Rick. Ziggler says Charlotte was just telling the truth. And we heard from Summer Rae, Kalisto, Becky Lynch, and the Usos stating you handle family business behind closed doors. And then the announcers went over all the mean tweets that were sent to Charlotte over the past week, weighing in on what she did to her father.
I like this. I thought, first of all, it really kind of cleaned up a lot of the awkwardness that might have been in the last week's promo when it was done live. And secondly, they had the addition of having the superstars, or man, I can't believe I call them superstars. The roster commenting on the angle made it feel like everybody was talking about it and everybody had an opinion.
The universe is in shambles.
Yes. But I also like the fact that they had all these characters talk in character. And, in particular, you had somebody like Natalya, when asked about the situation, she was saying how her clip was about how she wanted Charlotte to finally try to be free from Rick and try to win without his help, which is, of course, their whole storyline. So I like this, and I hope they'll do more, video packages in this style.
Then they showed a video from earlier in the day where Charlotte was backstage, and she was confronted by Stephanie.
This I did not like as much.
This is maybe the dumbest thing on Raw tonight. She cuts off Charlotte and says she was embarrassed by what Charlotte did last week and that she represents the women in the WWE, and calls Charlotte a spoiled brat who is not a champion, just a waste of talent. So Stephanie is so disgusted at how Charlotte humiliated her father last week. Yeah. The same father who 2 weeks ago was humiliated by Stephanie and slapped into oblivion on Raw by Stephanie. The same Stephanie that slapped Linda numerous times in history. This is just this was stupid.
It was stupid because Stephanie...
Unless they are changing course and this is the match they're building to.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, but to me, when you just watch this segment for what it was not just another instance of Stephanie burying another heel talent. Stephanie buried her, dug her up, dug the hole deeper, and then buried her even deeper. I mean, it could be different in this case, though, because she is a woman and, Charlotte can, I guess, give Stephanie her comeuppance, but I highly doubt that. I really don't see them having that type of match. And it's also...
I think it'd be a very awkward spot putting Stephanie in that babyface role because I think everyone sees her character as always being a heel at the end of all of this.
That's what I think, too, and they've been really trying to, I think, hide that and make you forget that she's supposed to be heel, or maybe they've actually changed their mind and have decided to make her babyface. But I definitely think there's something more to this than what we just saw here. I would hope so, and I hope that there's value to come out of this, because if this was just all it was, it was totally detrimental.
I'm fine if they are building to the match. That's one thing. I just think that the setup of this, it shows that it's a complete change because it's just so inconsistent with you did 2 Ric Flair humiliation angles in a row involving these 2 women, and now this is the sense of their issue.
Right. It's also, I mean, let's not think about it too much.
Enzo and Cass are out. Enzo says he's gonna keep it G like a Packers helmet and go through all of their insults on the Dudley boys. Cass says he's going to be serving a size 16 boot-sized sandwich, and they list all the various forms of cheese, which I guess will be our new what involving these 2.
They listed forms of cheese, and they had the crowd saying, "How you doing?" Mm-hmm. Is that what they said?
Yes.
In between, I thought it was awesome. I mean, I think these 2, and in particular Enzo.
You shook your head in such disgust as you said, "I thought it was awesome."
Yeah, I swerved you. Yeah. Enzo, I think, is able to cut these promos that are so far off from the types of promos that you see on the rest of the show. And I mean, you often hear, you are starting to hear comparisons between this guy and The Rock, and I totally see it myself. He has a similar type of organic charisma and ability to control the crowd. And for somebody, I think, so new to the roster, that's incredibly impressive. But you can't compare, a promo like this to like that backstage sketch with Apollo Crews. There's no comparison. One feels like it was scripted by some guy who doesn't really have a character, doesn't really know what this guy's character is that he's writing for. One comes across like, Enzo's promo came across like it couldn't have come from anybody but the guy saying these words. And so I think he's tremendous. And they're like weird, intriguing but totally captivating promos.
Yeah, he talked about pizza, called Cass the Don Big Cass Parmesan, and he is muscles marinara, and when you put them together, it equals 3.14, and it's time for you boys to eat your pie as the Dudleys come out and started their tag match. Cass clotheslined and shoulder blocked both of them to take them down, lifted and tossed Enzo into Devon. Enzo was back on the house shows this weekend, but this was his first televised match back. There's a big boot to Bubba. They cleared the ring, went through the break, came back. Dudleys were now in control after knocking Enzo off the top. Enzo drop kicked and dropped Bubba as Bubba was mocking them. Hot tag is made to Cass. He comes in, Empire elbow. The Dudleys hit an inverted neck breaker, and then Enzo distracts Bubba as he's climbing up and gets thrown off by Cass. Big boot to Devon and the rocket launcher, and Enzo and Big Cass get the win.
Yeah, I'd assume this would be the end of that program.
Oh, in the spirit of our upcoming technical wrestling match way, they're not even done the first chapter yet.
I'd love to know the win-loss record of the Dudleys since they come back. But honestly, it doesn't really matter for them at this point.
This is kind of what they've been hired for. It's pretty obvious.
And they can really lose, but they'll still be over, I feel, because, I mean, they're mainstays. It's like Jericho. And I'm really glad Enzo's back. I don't know what their plans are for Cass as a single star following this, but I would really hope to see him as a tag guy for a lot longer, just to let him get that experience, because you can always do the split later on.
I was banging the drum on Bubba being separate as a heel.
Yeah.
But I think with the brand split, I think that's even more important at this point.
Sure.
Like these two, yeah, they serve a function as a tag team, but
you kind of exhausted that already.
By the time this draft comes, I would totally be fine with them splitting these two up. And I don't think that would mean great things for Devon, but it really would for Bubba.
Yeah, I don't think Reverend Devon is making a comeback.
I mean, Devon can have a role working the house shows with guys.
Devon won't be doing anything.
Well,
trust me. He'll be in the Golden Truth.
By the end of his TNA run, he had improved a lot.
Yes.
But I think you look at those two, and I just think in this split, you really do need someone like Bubba, at least moonlighting in a singles capacity. You can always have the tag team, but have the ability to segue them off into programs. Coming up this week on Review Away, we are going to be joined by Damian Abraham as we review WCW Great American Bash from 1996, one of the great pay-per-views that WCW ever put on, headlined by the Giant versus Lex Luger and a big angle involving Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. It's Review Away, Wednesday morning at liveaudiowrestling.com, and subscribe to Live Audio Wrestling on iTunes. Zayn, Cesaro, and Ambrose are backstage. They're discussing the six-man tag main event with the other Money in the Bank qualifiers, and they're talking about their opponents. Ambrose makes a joke about Canadians and is then informed that Sami Zayn is a Canadian. Ha, ha, ha.
So clever.
This was like identical to the Sheamus Renee joke last week.
Sure.
Like the same joke.
Yeah, and it goes back to what I was saying about how these just feel incredibly scripted. And you have, somebody like Enzo talking, and definitely he scripts it himself, but it's just like, these are shit.
John Cena came out, making his return in his non-PBR shirt and shorts that were given to him by Ellen DeGeneres. And he got a USA chant after discussing the lengths they will go to preserve liberty, and cut a big promo on freedom. How freedom is our pulse and makes you feel however you want and allows you to scream things such as, "I am back on Monday Night Raw."
Yes,
which is
that's why
within his constitutional right to do.
That's why the soldiers go to war, so he can say that.
He asks if he still belongs here because the new era has arrived with new names and he will not go down quietly. So out comes AJ Styles, who comes down, and there was a perfectly placed PBR sucks sign as he came down the aisle. And there were chants for both. The crowd really made this feel like a big deal, having these two in the same ring, knowing what is to come.
It's cool that you have this audience that seems to recognize AJ Styles now as an equal to John Cena.
Styles puts over Cena for all his hard work, what he does outside of the ring for the company, respects Cena. They shake hands, and then Gallows and Anderson come out, and Gallows says that he's now resorted to sucking up to John Cena, criticizing AJ, and says they aren't here to kiss ass, they're here to kick it, including AJ's. And they have this standoff. It looks like Cena's going to join with AJ when all of a sudden Styles gangs up with Anderson and Gallows, and they all beat down John Cena for a prolonged period. They do the too sweet sign. They go to leave, and on 2 occasions, AJ runs back into the ring, attacking Cena and leaving him laying. This was the big angle on the show, and this appears to be the summer program for John Cena, and I would imagine these two are both going to be on SmackDown, and this is going to be John Cena's program because I see this being a multiple-month program with these two.
Yeah. This was AJ Styles' full-on heel turn, and I thought it was done really well. I love the over the past 2 weeks they've really kind of teased the end of AJ's association with the club, kind of his flirtation with being a heel. He's back to being a full-time babyface now, and I thought even the tease earlier with Gallows and Anderson moving on seemingly from the AJ program by beginning a new program with the New Day was really effective in making me kind of forget about them. And so when they came out to do this and AJ did that turn, I mean, I caught myself very surprised and very pleasantly surprised because I think this program is, very much in some ways a dream program between, the franchise star of TNA and the franchise star of WWE. And AJ as a heel, while I was initially against, and I think I would have still been against Roman Reigns, I think against John Cena, it seems to work for me. Like
AJ will be a great heel.
Yeah. Especially if it means continuing with Gallows and Anderson, because I think the three of them are way stronger as a group together. I hope, maybe they'll even start recruiting new members at some point. But I'm really looking forward to the program.
Now, you did have this situation where you were really low on the heel side. So Rollins is now back in that role. You've now turned AJ, and you look at Money in the Bank, and it is Las Vegas. You don't exactly know what kind of crowd response you're going to get, but it is very likely, especially if Kevin Owens were to win that Money in the Bank match, that your 3 key heels at this point, Owens, Rollins, and AJ, are going to get reactions as the 3 biggest baby faces on that show.
Absolutely. And who are your
in all 3 of those cases?
Who are your top heels? Top baby faces. Cena, Reigns, and
after that, you're looking at Ambrose, Zayn. That's the next level.
Yeah, it's almost always kind of been the case, hasn't it?
I just think it's going to be really pronounced at this next pay-per-view.
Sure.
So that was the big angle of the show. Natalya and Dana Brooke was next with Charlotte in the corner of Dana Brooke. A very quick match with Natalya going for the sharpshooter, but then knocked Charlotte off the apron and allowed Dana to hit her finish, which is the cradle shock, for the win at 1:21. Then they attacked Natalya. Charlotte was chopping her when Becky ran down and chased them off.
I think Dana needs work. I didn't think she looked all that great in the ring here, and like her grabbing Natty for that cradle shock finisher looked really slow, and in effect it kind of made the distraction finish look ineffective, and it just kind of made Natalya look weak. So I also have my concerns about the chemistry that she and Charlotte have together. And I think they need to do some experimenting on their own to try to figure out.
I think taking Rick out of that dynamic, it does hurt it.
It hurts it, but
because there's no history between these two at this point.
In the long run, their project is Dana Brooke. They want Dana to get that experience to get up to that level. But keep in mind Charlotte's relatively new herself too, so I think the two of them really have to kind of figure out what works for the two of them.
JoJo is with Dolph Ziggler backstage and shows the no DQ highlights from the last Extreme Rules match, and tonight they are going to have a technical wrestling match, and he says he's going to showcase the lessons he learned at St. Ed's in high school for the Eagles, where he was teammates with one Gray Maynard of the UFC, and says he's got 1,005 holds to one-up Chris Jericho. Do you know what he could use as a T-shirt in 2016 way?
Keep it 1,005.
Damn it, yeah. That'd be a great T-shirt. And he goes to list off...
I'm going to steal that one.
Yeah, well, it's free. But you can only use it over the next 48 hours. He goes to list off his name, the name of moves, including a super kick as a hold. And of course, repeating armbar.
How much of the audience do you think is familiar with that promo?
It sounded like crickets listening to this, and I didn't think it was delivered all that well.
Yeah, I think that it comes down to the delivery. But I'd say a huge contingent of like the online, the Reddit population will, it's a classic promo.
Great. Each and every week, it's your chance to win a t-shirt from ProWrestlingTees.com. Simply answer the trivia question and tweet @LawRadio for your chance to win each and every Thursday. Baron Corbin and Dolph Ziggler. We had Ziggler coming out in his Kent State University hoodie and then put on headgear and a mouthpiece. And immediately low blows Corbin for the DQ in 34 seconds. He says he has been disqualified, but the loser is still Baron Corbin and leaves, meaning the feud continues.
Yeah. Listen,
what can you do next? How do you top this? What, a
low blow
Rochambeau match?
Rochambeau match.
Where they kick each other in the balls repeatedly.
Is that what it is? There you go. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. I kind of
Do you care?
No, I don't. I mean, I like this, though. I mean, I thought it was kind of, original. The whole swerve with the headgear and all that. It made Dolph look like a heel when I think they're trying to make him look like this badass babyface. But I think a big problem was, I don't know how many people saw that match on the kickoff show, on the pay-per-view.
No, that's why they had the highlights here.
Yeah, I guess I've made a mental note to not pay attention to any like video packages or like old clips, so it didn't have a big effect on me. Did you like it?
The match or
no? This, yeah, whatever.
It was okay. I mean, if you are gonna continue this feud, it wasn't the worst thing to do. But I just think people are exhausted with this feud at this point. They've been doing this since just after WrestleMania. At this point, we're into June almost. Maurice introduces The Miz on Facebook, where he's on the set of the Marine 5 Battleground, which is not going to only feature The Miz reprising his role as Jake Carter.
Submarine on this too?
No, but Maurice will be in this. Naomi, Curtis Axel, Bo Dallas, and Brett Tafte, baby. Heath Slater.
Wow. Okay.
Heath.
Yeah, can't wait. Nice.
And he says tomorrow's the first day of shooting, but he will report back each week on location.
Okay.
So the IC title is kind of in flux now.
He'll be back for the match, I'm sure.
What match?
Oh, yeah. Is there no match?
He doesn't have anything going. Owens, Jericho, and ADR are backstage. They all argue. Owens thought he had a good thing going with Chris Jericho, but Jericho says he's sick of him. He says he invented Money in the Bank and says the guy who invented it was moi. And he looks at Owens and says, that's French. And Owens said, I know. Says their goal is to make sure the other three don't make it to Money in the Bank. And then as they leave, Jericho, under his breath, calls them idiots.
I think Owens and Jericho are just so...
They're great.
Tremendous together. They both have the, great comedic timing, great sense of improv, I'd say. And it really comes across in even segments like this that are typically very rehearsed and very dry. I hope we get to see more interaction between those two. They
announced Charlotte against Becky for SmackDown, and the club will speak about their actions on SmackDown this week. So there's your hook to tune in this week. Get ready, folks. Taped SmackDowns. Enjoy them while you can. And then the main event saw Chris Jericho, Alberto Del Rio, and Kevin Owens against Dean Ambrose, Cesaro, and Sami Zayn. Heels got the heat at the start. The crowd chanted, "Stupid idiot." There was a spot where Owens pulled ADR to safety from the haluva kick, and this annoyed ADR, and they both shoved one another. They got the advantage on Sami Zayn after he did a big dive to the floor. Hot tag was eventually made to Ambrose, and they talked about the Asylum match, just giving us a taste of how crazy Dean Ambrose is.
He's nuts.
He's crazier, folks. Just think, that's only scratching the surface. Jericho blocked the Dirty Deeds, hit an enziguri, lion salt. Ambrose got his knees up, and then as they went into the sequence near the end, Ambrose blocked a code breaker, then a slingshot into a code breaker by Jericho. Owens comes in, gets a 2 count. Cesaro goes for the swing to Jericho. Del Rio stops that with a backstabber. Zayn then hits a haluva kick to Del Rio. Owens hits a super kick. Zayn then avoids the pop-up powerbomb. And then Ambrose pops in and hits the Dirty Deeds, pinning Kevin Owens. And the show ended immediately. It's like, that was that, and we're done, folks. Good night.
It continues the trend of, the peak of the show not necessarily being in the main event anymore.
Yeah, the third hour gets hit really bad. And tonight, I feel tonight's number you could almost throw out because they were going against unreal competition tonight, and they'll get it if the finals with Golden State and Cleveland in the final. If they get to Game 5, that'll be a Monday night, and they'll get trampled again.
I might not even do this show. I think I'll be watching basketball.
Wow, well, that's really a lot of dedication.
We'll talk about basketball instead.
The John Cena of this podcast, you are not. We need some hustle and loyalty as you show disrespect to all the listeners out there. That is going to wrap up the show, but thanks for watching. We're going to be back Wednesday with a brand new review away, chatting the Great American Bash from 1996. A show that was, actually around the same length as Raw. Back in the Jurassic era. For Wei Ting, I'm John Pollock, and we'll speak with you next time on Review of Raw.